Hi everyone, I'm Paige. I started a grad job in insurance consulting last month, and welcome to a very busy day in my life of meetings and training sessions. I logged on at 9 o'clock and quickly responded to a couple of Skype or Teams messages from colleagues. Nothing overly important, just quick queries and good morning messages. We use Skype and Teams Messenger as a more informal way of communicating. I then opened up my diary just to remind myself of the tasks and commitments I had that day. I'd made my to-do list at the end of the previous day so I could get started quickly. Here I'm sending a message to the IT team who had been very kindly helping me out with some tech issues. In a nutshell, I was struggling to install a piece of software that I needed for my work, so I put in an extra request for assistance. For one of my ongoing projects, we'll call it Project A, we're expecting client data to come in, which we're going to use to forecast their future insurance claims, amongst other things. It's quite a tight time frame to get the work done, so here I'm checking to see if the data had been uploaded yet so I could make a start. But unfortunately, it hadn't come in yet, it's still a waiting game. Then it was time to read and respond to emails. This is an activity I do every single morning. It varies as to how many emails I receive, but on this particular day, I had so many emails to respond to. I also use this time to respond to calendar invites so people know if I can attend their meetings and training sessions. Some of the emails contained action points, so I made sure to write them down in my diary. At 9:30, I had a kickoff call for my second project. We'll call it Project B. And this was where the scope and timelines for the project were all laid out by the project lead. It's a project team of 4 people, with me being the most junior member responsible for the data processing. The end product will be a full reserve review for the client, basically advising them on whether the money they've set aside for paying out claims is sufficient. At 10 o'clock, I had another call scheduled. I did my usual routine of turning the camera on, checking I looked okay, turning the camera off, turning the microphone off, and then joining the meeting. I turned the video back on when I got into the call and made sure I wasn't the only one with my camera on. This particular call was an excellence talk being given to all the new grads, all about best practice, sticking to company policy, ensuring our work is high quality and meets the standards expected of us by the company. This was just one of our many training sessions organised by HR. I jotted down notes as necessary, and then once the talk was over, I got out my diary and made sure to tick it off my to-do list to keep myself on track. At 11 o'clock, it was time for my coffee break. I opted for a latte macchiato caramel. I also got myself a couple of homemade vanilla buns. These are what get me and my mum through the working week. I did some more admin while I had my coffee, in particular responding to an email my line manager sent me organising an impromptu catch-up meeting at 1:30 that day. The day was shaping up to be much busier than expected. At 11:30 I had another call and I decided to put on my headset for this one. It was a study talk, which was being given to all of us new grads who are planning on taking the actuarial exams. The company study mentors talked us through the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries requirements to qualify as a fellow, and also the company study policy and study tips. It was supposed to be an hour, but it did overrun slightly. I quickly filed my notes away and then headed down for lunch. I opted to put a bread roll in the oven and heat up some soup. I was planning on taking 45 minutes for lunch, but then things didn't quite go to plan. At about 12:45, I rushed to answer my phone because IT were calling me to help me out with my software download issues. I didn't want to miss their call because I really needed this software downloaded for the next day. While they took over control of my computer and tried to fix my issue, I decided to jot down some notes in preparation for my meeting with my line manager, just so I didn't forget to bring up anything important. After half an hour or so, IT spoke to me again and said they hadn't had any luck and promised to help me out later. Not ideal, but first thing on my mind was quick, let's get food. I only had 10 minutes until I was expected to be on the phone with my line manager, so I quickly threw together my soup and bread. I didn't end up having time to eat, but at least I made it back to my desk in time for 1:30. It was nice to catch up with my line manager as she'd been out of the office for about a week, and then I fed back to her on some work she'd given me, we'll call it Project C. Myself and another new grad had been helping my line manager collate survey responses for a top secret project that I can't say much about. Luckily, my line manager was impressed with the work we'd done, and then I dialed off and I finally had time to have some food. I left the camera off during my next call so I could keep eating while listening. This was templates and editorial training for all the new grads, showing us how to present our work in accordance with the company brand. There's so much new information to take in at the moment, so I listened carefully and took notes as always. At 3 o'clock, one of my colleagues messaged me to see if I was free to chat, to which I said, yes, sure, I have 10 minutes. This was a colleague who I'm working with on Project A, and she decided to give me some further instructions on updates that needed doing to a few of the Excel workbooks, which I'm getting prepped to have new client data fed into them. It was also an opportunity to have a little chat and see how each other's day was going, which was nice. At 3:15, I needed to drop a message to my fellow new grad who I'm working with on Project C. This was just to keep her in the loop after the update I'd given to my line manager earlier in the day and to make her aware that our work was going to be reviewed that evening. At 3:30, I had a whole team meeting for Project A. Like Project B, it's a reserve review, but this one is slightly bigger and it's done quarterly, and I'll be working on it every quarter going forward. As I'm new to the team, there's lots to learn about the client, so I took some notes during this call. At 4 o'clock, I finally had a spare moment to talk to IT again. It's a bit tricky to get work done when IT are working on your computer, so I just tried to keep myself busy by filing papers, filling out my diary, that sort of thing. And then they messaged me to say that they'd had success installing the software, so I was very happy about that. At this point, I started looking into the updates I needed to make to the Project A Excel files. The workbooks are massive and have lots of complicated formulae in them, so it takes a while to get your head around. I eventually managed to pinpoint which columns needed updating and made notes for myself to follow the next day. At 4:30, it was time for my final call of the day, and this was with a colleague who is working with me on Project B. Since the kickoff meeting had literally been that morning, I hadn't done any work on it yet, so this call was mostly an introduction to the project, an opportunity for me to ask questions, and generally an overview of the work I'm going to be doing. Rather handily, a lot of it was very similar to the work I'd already been doing on Project A, so I'm already starting to become more comfortable with the insurance terms, the reserving terms, and also the company software I am getting much more confident at using. There was a lot to discuss, so the call did go on for about an hour. I'd usually finish at 5, but on this particular day I did run on to 5:30. I made sure to write my to-do list for the next day and also to do one last check of my emails so that I wasn't missing any urgent messages. I suddenly received a Skype message from another colleague who said, "What are you still doing online? Why are you still logged on?" It made me laugh. It really is nice that they check up on new grads and don't encourage you to work overtime. And finally, it was time to shut my laptop. I was done for the day, and my gosh, it was a busy day. Then my dog came to greet me, who had just arrived home with my dad. Thanks for watching, guys. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll see you soon with another video. Bye!